What's up? I'm Joe. And I had a heart attack last year, May 27th. And so definitely wasn't something I was expecting, or I don't think anybody's expecting to have a heart attack, but I just, making my head smooth, shaving my head, and then I have this, feel like I'm out of breath. I'm just like, whew, what is that? What's going on? I was like, all right, I'm gonna just sit on the couch. Sat on the couch, and I'm just like, whew, what is that? It felt like I ran around the track like 300 times and then just stopped, and my heart was just like, I couldn't catch my breath, like I couldn't breathe. So my friend was there, and so I said, hey, Tosh, I can't really catch my breath. And she was like, are you okay? Like, do you need to go to the doctor? I was like, nah, I don't need to go to the doctor. Yeah, she's like, puts her hands on my face, and she's like, heck no, you're going to the doctor. I'm like, I don't need to go to no doctor. She's like, get in my car. So she takes me into the car. We go to the hospital up the street, but they don't have an emergency room. And so this thing is hurting in the middle of my back. I feel like the hole in my back. So I'm walking. They're like, we can't do anything. You need to go to the emergency room. So she's mad. She's like, what are you talking about? You're a hospital. So walk back to the car, and she's trying to look for hospitals on her phone, and she's like, this is gonna take too long. We need to call 911. And I was like, you don't need to call 911. So she's like, I'm calling 911. So we pull into the Fox Hills Mall, or Westfield Mall, and so the ambulance comes like in two minutes. Ambulance people are there. They put me in the ambulance, and then the EMTs was like, yeah, bro, you're having a heart attack. I was like, really? I'm having a heart attack? Crazy, I'm having a heart attack. So they gave me this nitro stuff, took me to the hospital, UCLA Medical Center. And then it felt like a movie, because there was like 6 doctors there, and they rushed me in there, took my clothes off and the whole thing. And then the doctor was like, Mr. Montoya, you're having a massive heart attack. And I was like, a massive heart attack? And I was like, wow, maybe I should tell somebody. And so I called people, and they didn't answer their phone. Nobody answers their phone. So I took a selfie, I put it on Instagram, and then everybody called me. And then, so, she's like, I'm hooking you up to this whatever machine, so in case your heart stops, we could bring you back. And I was like, my heart's gonna stop? Crazy, my heart is gonna stop. And the other doctor was like, man, you pretty calm for you're the calmest person I've seen having a massive heart attack. And I was like, well, if I die, I go to heaven. So she was like, well, that's a good faith to have. And so anyhow, they put me in ICU. They tried to put stents in my heart. My heart arteries was 100% blocked, 100% blocked arteries. And which is crazy, because after I had the heart attack, like when I got out the hospital, I've heard 5 stories of people that died of having like one major blocked artery. And so, I was just grateful. So I go into ICU, and they're telling me I'm gonna need triple bypass surgery. They're gonna cut me, have this thing all open, and they're gonna have to, take some veins out of my leg and put them in my heart. And so I'm just preparing for that. So they go and take me for a scan, and then the scan, they say, you got a blood clot in your heart. And so I'm like, what? So they're like, we can't do the surgery. So I have a blood clot in my heart, and I'm in the hospital for like 8 days. I'm in the hospital for 8 days. And all I'll say is like, I've been coming to New Song, LA. At that time, it was like six months. Like 6 months I was coming. And so, yeah, this is like my family, straight up. Like, the day I went into the hospital, Pastor Manos was there, Pastor Adam was there. But somebody from the church was at the hospital every day that I was in the hospital. And, I already knew I was in the right spot. But going through that, I knew that I knew that I knew that I knew that I was in the right spot. So if you're watching this, this is a straight up family here. And, Pastor Manoj, Pastor Sherry, the first Sunday of June, they brought me communion. I was like, what? And like that just really made me be like, man, like, I love these people. And so I'm just grateful, man, grateful for the church. When I got out the hospital, I didn't come to church for probably like 2 months or something like that. And then when I came back the first time, like, everybody prayed for me. The awesome thing is, like, I had to have this triple bypass surgery. And I remember I got out the hospital, like the second day I was out of the hospital, my friend Ty was like, I'm gonna come over and lay hands on you and pray for you. And so I was like, okay. So he came over, he lays hands on my chest and he prays for me. And then he says, I just want you to know you're not gonna have triple bypass surgery. They're not gonna cut you open. I was like, oh, okay. Sounds good to me. He was like, don't even worry about it. You're not gonna have triple bypass surgery. Talked to my friend Matt like a few days later. He was like, you know what, Joe? You're not gonna have surgery. I'm like, I'll take that, okay. And so, I think I went into like a sort of like a funk or something, like depression or something. I was like going through it. And so I guess the words that got me through is just Romans 8:28, like just, it says in Romans 8:28, like, all things work together for the good of those who love God and are called according to his purpose. And then Proverbs 3, 5, and 6. These are like my life verses, like, trust in the Lord with all your heart. Don't lean on your own understanding. In all your ways acknowledge him, and he'll direct your path. And so I'm like, how is this working for my good? And I'm trying to understand it. But then I'm like, well, don't lean on your own understanding. Just trust in him, acknowledge him through this, and he'll direct your path. And so that's what I held on to. And then, when I came out of the hospital, came to church the first time, everybody laid hands on me and prayed for me. And so I just went to the hospital. It was like probably like January. And they were like, you're not going to have heart surgery because you're not going to have the triple bypass surgery. They said, so we're just going to put a stent in your heart. So they went in through my wrist and put a stent in my heart. And so, like, everything just came full circle. So it's a year later. And just knowing, like, I had another pastor that I had known from my former church, and he passed. I went to go visit my former church probably like 4 months after I got out the hospital, and then I was talking to one of the pastors there, and he was like, "Man, how you doing?" I told him everything I just told you about the heart attack. He was like, "What?" He was like, "Man," he was like, the pastor died of the same thing you did. Like he had the same type of heart attack you did, but he went into the hospital at like 8 a.m. and he was dead by 4 o'clock. And so it just made me start thinking like Like, you know, just to keep the main thing, you know, like we get this like one shot to get this thing right, and we all have a calling on our lives. We all have, you know, something in us that God wants us to do, wants us to accomplish. And, you know, and my whole focus is just like keep the main thing, you know, like preach the gospel. My whole attitude is just preach the gospel, you know, like woe unto me if I don't preach the gospel. Like that's it, you know what I'm saying? Love God, love people, and keep it pushing. But, you know, I'm just so grateful to God and to my church fam that you guys prayed for me. And these are the results of your prayers, you know. When I had the heart attack, my doctor said my heart was functioning at, I think he said like 21%. And so a normal heart, I didn't know this, a normal heart functions at between 55 and 60%. My heart was at 21%. He said you were like literally on the brink of death. And, but now, like after the prayers, like people have been praying, you know, and they said my heart is back at like 45%. So which is basically 90% since the normal heart functions at 55 to 60%. So I'm back. And so I just wanted to say I'm just grateful, man. Grateful for my Christ family, which is New Song LA family. Like you guys are my family. And I just appreciate all the prayers, you know, because some people after service, like people would come up to me and they're like, man, yo, I'm praying for you, man. Like I've been praying for you. And I'm just like, man, like I don't take that lightly. When like people can go in front of the Father's throne and that's their time with the Father and they're going to mention me. Like I don't take that lightly. So I appreciate all the prayers, everybody that thought about me, that prayed for me, that prayed for, you know, my mom's, like, you know, the prayer team, like Rick from the prayer team, like, yeah, that's my brother. Like he came and saw me in the hospital, lay hands on me. Like I do not take none of that stuff lightly. If you're here today and you're visiting, you're in the right spot. If you've been coming for a little bit, you're in the right spot. This is truly a representation of the love of Christ here, man. Like people care about you here. I speak for myself. They care about me. Like, you know, they truly live out, you know, the love of Christ because they went above and beyond. Even when I got out the hospital, you know, like just above and beyond. And so, you know, I mean, it's sad that we have to like say that because all churches should do that. But I know for a fact that all churches don't show love like that. I know for a fact, you know, and so I just want to say thank you. That's what I want to say. Thank you. I'm grateful to God, and I'm grateful for where He's placed me in this season of my life, because all that stuff comes together. It's all working together for our good. And so don't try to understand everything, because you're not going to understand everything. Just acknowledge Him, and then the next promise is that He's going to direct your path. And so I'll leave it at that.